The morning sun cast long shadows across the training compound at Naval Special Warfare Center in Coronado, California. Staff Sergeant Maria Santos adjusted her Marine Corps uniform and checked her watch. She had arrived 30 minutes early, not because she was nervous, but because preparation had always been her way of showing respect. Today marked the beginning of something unprecedented in military history. Maria stood 5 feet 4 inches tall, with dark hair pulled back in regulation style and eyes that held the quiet intensity of someone who had seen combat and lived to tell about it. At 28 years old, she had already served 3 deployments in Afghanistan, earned a Purple Heart, and commanded respect among Marines who had initially doubted a woman's place in their ranks. But today would test her in ways that battlefield experience never could. The invitation had come through official channels, though everyone knew it originated from a bet made in a Pentagon conference room. 2 Marine generals had been defending the Corps' decision to integrate women into combat roles when a Navy admiral made an offhand comment that sparked controversy. The admiral suggested that while Marines might be tough, they would struggle to keep pace with Navy SEALs in specialized operations training. "Your best Marines wouldn't last 2 days in our selection process," Admiral Richardson had said with a slight smirk. "We've spent decades perfecting methods that break 90% of the men who attempt them." General Morrison, a grizzled veteran with 30 years in the Corps, had leaned forward in his chair. "Admiral, I'll take that bet. I've got 2 Marines who would not only survive your training but excel at it. And one of them happens to be a woman." The room had fallen silent. Integration was still new, controversial, and politically charged. The idea of a female Marine attempting SEAL training was unprecedented. But Admiral Richardson, perhaps caught up in the moment or genuinely curious about the outcome, had agreed to a modified trial. For weeks, he had said, "Your Marines can attempt a condensed version of our Hell Weekend combat diving course. If they complete it successfully, I'll personally recommend expanding joint training programs. If they fail, the Marine Corps acknowledges that some specializations require different standards." That conversation had led Maria to this moment, standing outside Building 618 where Navy SEALs conducted their most grueling training exercises. She was not alone. Beside her stood Corporal Jake Thompson, a 26-year-old from Texas whose reputation for endurance was legendary even among Force Reconnaissance Marines. Jake had volunteered for the challenge, drawn by the opportunity to prove himself against the military's most elite unit. The compound buzzed with unusual activity. Word had spread through military channels about the unprecedented trial. While officially described as a joint training exercise, everyone understood the real stakes. This was about proving capabilities, challenging assumptions, and potentially reshaping how the military viewed gender integration in special operations. Master Chief Petty Officer David Chen emerged from the administrative building, his presence immediately commanding attention. Chen was a 20-year SEAL veteran whose reputation preceded him throughout the special operations community. He had trained thousands of candidates, witnessed countless failures, and had developed an intuitive sense for identifying those rare individuals who possessed the mental toughness required for special operations. Staff Sergeant Santos, Corporal Thompson, Chen acknowledged with professional courtesy. "Welcome to Naval Special Warfare Training. I want to be absolutely clear about what you're undertaking. This is not a public relations exercise or a demonstration of political correctness. For the next 4 weeks, you will be evaluated using the same standards we apply to SEAL candidates. The only difference is that you'll complete a condensed program designed to test specific capabilities." Maria nodded, her expression serious but confident. She had spent months preparing for this opportunity, knowing that failure would be interpreted not just as personal defeat but as evidence that women lacked the physical or mental capabilities for special operations. The weight of representation was enormous, but she had carried such burdens before. Jake shifted slightly, his nervous energy barely contained. He understood that his performance would also be scrutinized, though the pressure was different. As a male Marine, he represented the Corps' pride but not the broader question of gender integration. Still, the opportunity to train alongside SEALs was a career-defining moment he had dreamed about since enlisting. "Your first week will focus on water competency and combat diving," Chen continued. "Week 2 covers small unit tactics and weapons proficiency. Week 3 emphasizes endurance and problem-solving under extreme stress. Week 4 combines all elements in scenario-based training that simulates actual operations. Chen paused, studying both Marines carefully. I've reviewed your service records. Staff Sergeant Santos, your combat experience and leadership ratings are exemplary. Corporal Thompson, your physical fitness scores and technical skills are outstanding. But understand this, past achievements mean nothing here. We're starting from zero, and every day will test your limits. The training facility sprawled across several acres, featuring specialized pools for underwater exercises, obstacle courses designed to simulate combat conditions, and classrooms where tactical knowledge was hammered into candidates through repetition and pressure. The environment was deliberately intimidating, designed to create stress that revealed true character under pressure. Other SEAL trainees watched with curiosity as Maria and Jake were processed through initial administrative requirements. The presence of a female candidate was unprecedented, generating whispered conversations and speculative glances. Some faces showed skepticism, others displayed professional interest, and a few reflected the kind of predatory anticipation that suggested they expected to witness spectacular failure. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Hayes, the facility's medical officer, conducted fitness evaluations and briefed both Marines on safety protocols. As one of the few women in senior positions at the training center, she understood the unique pressures Maria would face. The physical demands are significant, Hayes explained during Maria's medical screening. But the psychological challenges are often more difficult to overcome. You'll be constantly evaluated, constantly judged, and constantly pushed beyond what you think you can handle. The question isn't whether you're strong enough, it's whether you're mentally prepared for sustained pressure. Maria appreciated the honest assessment. Throughout her military career, she had learned that preparation required understanding not just the technical challenges but the social and psychological dynamics that would influence success or failure. She had faced skepticism before, overcome prejudice before, and proven herself in environments where failure meant death rather than embarrassment. The first test came sooner than expected. Chen gathered all trainees, including Maria and Jake, for an initial fitness assessment that would establish baseline capabilities. The exercise included swimming, running, obstacle navigation, and weapons handling. Performance would determine training groups and individual attention levels. This is not competition, Chen announced to the assembled group. This is measurement. We need to understand your capabilities so we can design training that pushes each of you appropriately. Give maximum effort, but don't try to impress anyone except yourselves. The swimming pool was Olympic-sized but designed specifically for combat diving training. Deep areas simulated open water conditions, while shallow sections allowed for technique refinement. The water was kept deliberately cold, adding physical stress that mimicked real operational conditions. Maria entered the water with confidence born from countless hours of preparation. She had spent months working with Marine combat swimmers, refining technique and building endurance. The first exercise required swimming 50 meters underwater without surfacing, testing breath control and stroke efficiency. As she pushed off from the pool wall, Maria felt the familiar sensation of controlled drowning that defined combat swimming. The key was remaining calm while the body's natural panic responses demanded immediate surfacing. She had learned to treat oxygen debt as information rather than emergency, managing resources carefully while maintaining forward progress. Jake entered the water beside her, his larger frame cutting through the water with powerful strokes. His swimming technique was solid but less refined than Maria's, reflecting different training backgrounds. Marines emphasized functional swimming for amphibious operations, while SEAL training demanded precision and endurance that exceeded conventional standards. The SEAL candidates watching from poolside displayed varying levels of skill and confidence. Some moved through the water with the fluid grace of experienced swimmers, while others struggled with technique and timing. The disparity was expected. Candidates came from different military backgrounds and swimming abilities varied dramatically. Chen observed from the pool deck, making notes on waterproof paper that would become part of each trainee's permanent record. His experienced eye caught subtle details that revealed character traits and potential weaknesses. Swimming technique could be improved through training, but comfort in water was largely psychological and much more difficult to develop. Maria surfaced exactly at the 50-meter mark, her breathing controlled and steady. She had completed the distance with oxygen to spare, a result of careful pacing and efficient technique. Jake surfaced a few seconds later, slightly winded but successful. Several SEAL candidates had already failed the exercise, surfacing early or displaying signs of panic that would require additional training. The next exercise tested treading water while wearing full combat gear. Candidates were required to maintain position for 20 minutes while performing various tasks that simulated operational conditions. The exercise was designed to evaluate multitasking abilities under physical stress. Maria adjusted her gear carefully, ensuring that weight distribution would not interfere with buoyancy control. The combat equipment was heavier than standard marine gear, including specialized breathing apparatus and underwater communication devices. She had practiced with similar equipment but never for extended periods under evaluation. The exercise began with simple position maintenance, gradually adding complexity through task assignments. Candidates were required to manipulate equipment, communicate through hand signals, and respond to simulated emergency situations. The water temperature added physical stress that accumulated over time, making concentration increasingly difficult. Jake struggled initially with gear unfamiliarity but adapted quickly through observation and adjustment. His natural strength allowed him to compensate for technique deficiencies, though Chen noted that raw power was less efficient than proper form. The exercise revealed learning speed and adaptation capabilities that would be crucial for advanced training. Several SEAL candidates began showing fatigue after 15 minutes, their movements becoming less precise as cold water and physical exertion took effect. Maria maintained steady performance throughout the exercise, her movements economical and purposeful. She had learned early in her military career that conservation of energy was often more important than demonstration of strength. The pool exercise concluded with emergency rescue scenarios that tested decision-making under pressure. Candidates were paired randomly and required to assist simulated drowning victims while maintaining their own safety. The exercise evaluated leadership, teamwork, and risk assessment capabilities. Maria was paired with a SEAL candidate named Peterson, whose swimming abilities exceeded her own but whose rescue techniques needed refinement. The scenario required her to take charge of the situation, providing direction while supporting Peterson's efforts. Her combat experience became evident as she quickly assessed priorities and communicated clear instructions. Focus on position first, then approach, she directed as Peterson moved too quickly toward the simulated victim. Control the situation before attempting contact. Peterson initially bristled at receiving instruction from someone he perceived as an outsider, but Maria's calm competence and clear communication quickly earned his cooperation. Together they completed the rescue scenario successfully, establishing a working relationship that would prove valuable during subsequent training. The day's final exercise moved to land-based obstacles that tested agility, strength, and problem-solving abilities. The course included wall climbing, rope traversal, and weight carrying over varied terrain. Performance was evaluated on completion time and technique rather than pure speed. Maria approached each obstacle methodically, using technique to overcome physical limitations. Her smaller stature required different approaches than larger candidates used, but her experience with similar challenges provided advantages in route selection and energy management. She completed the course in respectable time while maintaining form that impressed evaluators. Jake excelled on obstacles that favored strength and reach but struggled with techniques requiring precision and balance. His competitive nature pushed him to attempt difficult approaches that occasionally resulted in time penalties. Chen noted that Jake's learning curve was steep but his determination was evident. As evening approached, the day's training concluded with administrative briefings and equipment assignment. Each candidate received gear that would be their responsibility throughout training. Loss or damage would result in penalties that could affect overall evaluation scores. Maria examined her assigned equipment carefully, noting serial numbers and conducting function checks that revealed her attention to detail. The gear was well maintained but showed signs of heavy use by previous candidates. She understood that caring for equipment was part of the evaluation process, reflecting discipline and professionalism that special operations demanded. That night, both Marines reviewed the day's experiences and prepared for challenges ahead. They had survived their first day among Navy SEALs without embarrassment, but both understood that real testing was yet to come. The pool exercises had been introductory, designed to establish baselines rather than eliminate candidates. Maria felt cautiously optimistic about her performance but remained focused on preparation rather than celebration. She had learned that military training was designed to escalate difficulty progressively, with each success leading to greater challenges. Tomorrow would bring new tests that would require different skills and greater endurance. The compound grew quiet as candidates settled into barracks accommodations that were Spartan but functional. Maria had been assigned to separate quarters, a practical arrangement that avoided potential complications while maintaining professional standards. The isolation was familiar. She had often been the only woman in military environments and had learned to find strength in solitude. Jake's nervousness had transformed into excitement as he realized that he could compete successfully with SEAL candidates. His confidence was growing, but he remained mindful of Chen's warnings about the escalating nature of the training program. Tomorrow would begin the real testing phase. In the distance, the Pacific Ocean whispered against the shoreline, its constant rhythm a reminder of the maritime environment that defined SEAL operations. Both Marines fell asleep to that sound, their dreams filled with challenges yet to come and victories yet to be earned. The journey that would test their limits had only just begun. The alarm pierced the darkness at 0430 hours, jolting candidates from sleep that had come too briefly and ended too soon. Maria rolled from her bunk immediately, her body responding to years of military conditioning that treated wake-up calls as urgent commands rather than gentle suggestions. In the adjacent barracks, Jake and the other candidates were experiencing the same rude awakening that would define their next 4 weeks. Master Chief Chen's voice echoed through the compound's public address system, carrying the authority of someone accustomed to being obeyed without question. Muster on the grinder in 10 minutes. Full gear, no exceptions, no excuses. Late arrivals will discover that punctuality is not optional in special operations. Maria had already anticipated this moment, having laid out her gear the previous evening in precise order that allowed rapid preparation. Her uniform was wrinkle-free, boots polished to mirror brightness, and equipment arranged with military precision that reflected standards she had maintained throughout her career. She understood that attention to detail was being evaluated from the moment consciousness returned until exhaustion forced sleep. The grinder was a concrete parade ground where formations assembled and initial instructions were delivered. Candidates arrived in various states of readiness, some fully prepared while others struggled with equipment that seemed to multiply overnight. Chen observed these differences with the practiced eye of an instructor who understood that morning preparation revealed character traits that influenced performance under pressure. Today begins water competency training, Chen announced to the assembled group. You will learn techniques that keep SEALs alive in maritime environments where mistakes result in drowning rather than embarrassment. Some of you will discover that courage on land does not automatically translate to confidence underwater. Maria felt her pulse quicken with anticipation rather than anxiety. Water had always been her element, a place where size and gender mattered less than technique and mental toughness. She had grown up swimming in the Gulf of Mexico, where powerful currents and unpredictable weather had taught lessons about respect and preparation that served her well in military applications. The training pool looked different in early morning light, its dark water reflecting overhead fixtures that created an almost ominous atmosphere. Steam rose from the surface, indicating water temperature had been lowered overnight to simulate operational conditions that SEALs encountered in various global environments. The cold would be another stressor added to physical and mental challenges. Instructor Petty Officer First Class Rodriguez emerged from the equipment building carrying gear that looked both sophisticated and intimidating. Rebreathing apparatus, underwater communication devices, and specialized tools that enabled SEALs to operate beneath the surface for extended periods. The technology was impressive, but Maria understood that equipment was only as effective as the operator's skill and confidence. Combat diving is not recreational swimming, Rodriguez began, his voice carrying the conviction of someone who had used these skills in life-or-death situations. You will learn to think underwater, solve problems underwater, and fight underwater if necessary. Your life and your teammates' lives depend on mastering these techniques completely. The first exercise involved basic equipment familiarization, allowing candidates to handle gear and understand operational principles before entering the water. Maria examined each piece carefully, asking questions that revealed her technical curiosity and professional thoroughness. The rebreathing system was more complex than marine diving equipment, requiring different procedures and safety protocols. Jake appeared less comfortable with the technical aspects, his hands moving uncertainly over equipment that seemed foreign compared to familiar marine gear. Rodriguez noticed his hesitation and provided additional instruction that helped build confidence through understanding. The patience was professional rather than personal. SEAL instructors understood that competence required foundation knowledge before advanced application. The breathing apparatus felt strange when first fitted, its weight distribution and breathing resistance different from conventional scuba equipment. Maria practiced breathing techniques while seated on the pool deck, allowing her body to adjust to the modified respiratory patterns required for extended underwater operations. The key was remaining calm while adapting to artificial breathing that felt unnatural initially. Entry into the water was deliberately gradual, allowing candidates to adjust to temperature and equipment simultaneously. The cold was immediate and shocking, triggering involuntary responses that had to be controlled through mental discipline. Maria felt her body attempt to hyperventilate but forced breathing into slow, steady patterns that conserved oxygen and maintained composure. The first underwater exercise required swimming 25 meters while maintaining constant depth and direction. Simple in concept but challenging in execution, especially with unfamiliar equipment and cold water that affected muscle coordination. Maria pushed off from the pool wall with confidence born from preparation, her movements smooth and purposeful despite the equipment's bulk. Underwater, sound was muffled and vision was limited, creating sensory isolation that could trigger panic in unprepared individuals. Maria had experienced similar conditions during marine training but never with such sophisticated equipment or under such intense evaluation. She focused on navigation and breathing rhythm, treating the exercise as problem-solving rather than endurance testing. Jake struggled initially with buoyancy control, his larger frame requiring different weight distribution and technique adjustments. Rodriguez observed from the surface, making notes that would influence individual training programs. The instructor's job was not to judge but to identify specific areas requiring additional attention and customized instruction. Several SEAL candidates displayed varying levels of comfort and competence underwater. Some moved with natural grace that suggested extensive swimming backgrounds, while others fought the environment rather than working with it. The disparity was expected. Combat diving skills were developed through training rather than natural ability. Maria completed the exercise successfully, surfacing with controlled breathing and equipment properly positioned. Her underwater time had been efficient, suggesting good oxygen management and confidence in the environment. Rodriguez nodded approvingly, noting performance details that would influence advanced training assignments. The next exercise escalated complexity by adding navigation requirements and problem-solving tasks. Candidates were required to locate objects placed randomly on the pool bottom, demonstrating search patterns and underwater work capabilities. The exercise tested spatial awareness and task focus while managing breathing and equipment simultaneously. Underwater navigation proved more challenging than swimming endurance. Without familiar visual references, direction sense became unreliable and distance judgment was difficult. Maria had to rely on compass readings and counting stroke cycles, techniques that required practice to execute accurately under pressure. She found the first object successfully but required additional time to locate the second. Jake's competitive nature worked against him during the navigation exercise, pushing him to move too quickly without proper planning. His aggressive approach resulted in missed targets and inefficient search patterns that wasted oxygen and time. Rodriguez intervened with instruction that emphasized systematic approaches over speed and intensity. The morning's final pool exercise involved emergency procedures that simulated equipment malfunctions and crisis situations. Candidates practiced emergency ascent techniques, equipment sharing, and underwater communication protocols that could save lives during actual operations. The scenarios were realistic enough to trigger genuine stress responses. Maria found herself paired with a SEAL candidate named Williams for buddy breathing exercises that required sharing a single air source between two divers. The exercise demanded absolute trust and precise coordination, as mistakes could result in drowning for both participants. Her combat experience helped her remain calm while managing life-threatening simulation. "Control your breathing first, then establish rhythm," she instructed Williams, whose nervousness was affecting their shared air management. "We succeed together or we fail together." Williams initially resisted taking direction from someone he considered an outsider, but the underwater environment quickly demonstrated that competence was more important than ego. Maria's steady calm and clear communication helped establish the trust necessary for successful completion. They surfaced together, both having learned valuable lessons about teamwork under pressure. The pool training concluded with equipment recovery and maintenance activities that reinforced the importance of gear care in special operations. Candidates were responsible for cleaning, inspecting, and properly storing equipment that represented significant investment in both money and capability. Negligence would result in penalties affecting overall evaluation scores. After a brief meal break, training moved to classroom instruction covering dive physics, decompression procedures, and operational planning principles. The academic component was essential for understanding the science behind combat diving and the risks associated with underwater operations. Maria took detailed notes, her engineering background helping her grasp complex concepts quickly. The afternoon brought open water training in San Diego Bay, where conditions were more challenging than pool exercises. Natural currents, limited visibility, and varying water temperature created environmental stresses that tested skills learned in controlled conditions. The transition from pool to ocean was where many candidates discovered that classroom knowledge required practical application. The dive boat transported candidates to training areas where depth and current conditions provided realistic operational environments. Maria felt excitement building as she prepared for her first open water dive with SEAL equipment. The ocean had always been her favorite training environment, offering challenges that could not be replicated in artificial settings. Instructor Chief Petty Officer Garcia briefed candidates on safety procedures and emergency protocols specific to open water diving. His experience was evident in the detailed contingency planning and backup systems that protected trainees while allowing realistic training conditions. The briefing emphasized teamwork and communication as essential survival tools. "The ocean does not care about your ego or your previous achievements," Garcia warned. "It will kill you without hesitation if you make mistakes or take unnecessary risks. Respect the environment, follow procedures exactly, and rely on your teammates completely." Maria entered the water with a mixture of excitement and respect for the environment that would test her skills. The bay water was murky compared to pool clarity, requiring different navigation techniques and heightened awareness of surroundings. Her first breaths underwater confirmed that open water diving was significantly more challenging than pool training. The initial exercise involved underwater navigation over a course marked by submerged buoys that required compass bearings and distance estimation. Visibility was limited to approximately 10 feet, making navigation dependent on instruments rather than visual references. Maria had to trust her compass completely while managing buoyancy and breathing simultaneously. Swimming through natural currents required constant adjustment and awareness of drift that could carry divers off course without notice. Maria found herself working harder to maintain position and direction than expected, the ocean's power reminding her that humans were visitors in this environment rather than masters of it. Her respect for SEAL capabilities grew as she experienced conditions they routinely operated within. Jake struggled more significantly with open water conditions, his pool competence not translating directly to ocean challenges. The murky water and unpredictable currents seemed to overwhelm his systematic approach, forcing him to rely more heavily on instructor guidance and teammate support. His learning curve was steep, but his determination remained evident. Halfway through the underwater navigation course, Maria encountered her first major challenge when a strong current carried her off the planned route despite careful compass work. She surfaced to reorient herself, discovering that several other candidates had experienced similar difficulties. The ocean was teaching lessons about humility and adaptation. Rodriguez appeared beside her during the surface interval, his presence both reassuring and instructive. "Current sets are normal here," he explained. "Learn to use them rather than fight them. SEALs work with the environment whenever possible." The adjustment required changing her approach from rigid route following to flexible navigation that used currents advantageously. Maria resumed the dive with modified technique, allowing the water movement to assist rather than hinder her progress. The change was subtle but effective, demonstrating how experience and instruction combined to improve performance. The afternoon's final exercise involved underwater obstacle navigation that simulated conditions SEALs might encounter during infiltration missions. Candidates had to navigate through submerged structures while maintaining stealth and precision that operational success would require. The exercise combined all morning's lessons into realistic application. Maria approached the obstacle course methodically, using techniques learned during pool training while adapting to open water conditions. Her movements were deliberate and controlled, avoiding contact with structures that might create noise or damage equipment. The exercise felt like practical application of special operations principles rather than training simulation. Jake's performance improved significantly during the obstacle exercise, his competitive nature finding focus in the challenge structure. He began demonstrating the adaptation and learning speed that had impressed marine instructors, translating pool lessons into effective ocean techniques. His confidence was building through successful problem-solving under pressure. As afternoon training concluded, candidates returned to shore with equipment that felt familiar rather than foreign. The day's progression from pool to ocean had built competence gradually while revealing individual strengths and areas requiring additional development. Maria felt confident about her water abilities but understood that diving was only one component of SEAL training. The debrief session focused on lessons learned and areas requiring improvement, with instructors providing individual feedback that would guide subsequent training. Rodriguez noted Maria's technical competence and adaptation speed, while identifying specific skills requiring additional practice. The evaluation was thorough and professional, focused on development rather than criticism. Chen addressed the group as evening approached, his assessment direct but encouraging. "Today's performance exceeded expectations for first-time SEAL candidates. You have demonstrated that Marines can adapt to Navy techniques when properly motivated and instructed. Tomorrow we increase complexity and add stress factors." Jake felt pride in surviving his first day of open water training, though he understood that success was measured by completion rather than excellence. His respect for SEAL capabilities had grown significantly, along with his determination to meet the challenges ahead. The learning curve was steep but progress was evident. That evening, both Marines reviewed equipment and prepared for the next day's training, which would focus on combat swimming techniques and underwater infiltration methods. Maria felt confident about her water skills but remained focused on continuous improvement rather than current achievement. She had learned that military training was designed to escalate demands progressively. The day had proven that Marines could adapt to SEAL techniques when properly trained and motivated. Both candidates had demonstrated competence in basic diving skills while revealing areas requiring additional development. Their performance had impressed instructors who were accustomed to working with candidates possessing limited diving backgrounds. As they prepared for sleep, the sound of waves against the shoreline provided a constant reminder of the environment that would continue testing their skills and determination. Tomorrow would bring new challenges designed to push capabilities beyond comfort zones and reveal character under pressure. The journey toward special operations competence was just beginning to reveal its demands. Maria fell asleep mentally rehearsing diving procedures and emergency protocols that could become critical during tomorrow's training. Her dreams were filled with underwater navigation and equipment procedures that were becoming familiar through repetition and practice. The ocean was becoming less foreign and more challenging in positive ways. Jake's thoughts focused on technique improvements and adaptation strategies that would help him meet tomorrow's challenges more successfully. His competitive drive was finding productive outlets in skill development rather than competition with other candidates. The training was revealing capabilities he had not realized he possessed while demanding growth in areas requiring improvement. The third week arrived with an intensity that made previous training seem like preparation rather than actual testing. Maria woke before the alarm, her internal clock adjusted to the relentless schedule that had become routine over 14 days of escalating challenges. Her body ached from accumulated stress, but her mind remained sharp with focus that came from succeeding when others had begun to falter. 6 candidates had already been removed from the program. 4 SEAL candidates had failed water competency tests, 1 had suffered injury during obstacle training, and another had requested voluntary withdrawal after psychological evaluation. The attrition rate was expected, but each departure served as a reminder that success was not guaranteed regardless of previous military experience or personal determination. Jake emerged from his barracks looking leaner and harder than when training began. The combination of physical stress, limited sleep, and constant evaluation had stripped away excess weight while building the kind of functional strength that special operations demanded. His confidence had grown through successful completion of challenges that initially seemed beyond his capabilities. Master Chief Chin stood before the remaining candidates with expression that suggested today would bring new levels of difficulty. Behind him, instructors prepared equipment that looked more sophisticated and intimidating than previous training gear. The weapons, communication devices, and tactical equipment represented the tools that SEALs used during actual combat operations. This week begins small unit tactics and close quarters combat, Chen announced, his voice carrying weight of someone who had used these skills in deadly environments. You will learn to think and move as a team while maintaining individual competence that keeps everyone alive. Some of you will discover that courage requires different qualities when other people's lives depend on your decisions. Maria felt familiar excitement that came with learning combat techniques. Her deployment experience had taught her that tactical knowledge was never complete, every situation demanded adaptation and improvisation that built on fundamental skills. She was eager to test her abilities against standards that represented the military's highest level of individual competence. The training area had been transformed into a mock village with buildings, obstacles, and concealment opportunities that simulated urban combat environments. The complexity was impressive, featuring multiple levels, hidden passages, and tactical challenges that required teamwork and communication under pressure. This was where individual skills would be tested through collective performance. Instructor Senior Chief Martinez briefed candidates on small unit tactics that emphasized speed, precision, and coordinated movement. His combat experience was evident in practical knowledge that went beyond textbook theory to include lessons learned through survival in hostile environments. The instruction was detailed, comprehensive, and absolutely serious. Every movement must have purpose, every shot must have target, every decision must consider team survival, Martinez explained. You are responsible not only for completing missions but for bringing everyone home alive. Individual heroics that endanger teammates are failures regardless of personal courage or skill. The first exercise involved room-clearing techniques that required precise coordination between team members moving through confined spaces where enemies could be concealed anywhere. Candidates were divided into 4-person teams and equipped with training weapons that provided realistic simulation without lethal capability. Maria found herself teamed with Jake and 2 SEAL candidates named Morrison and Kelly. Morrison was a veteran candidate whose previous special operations experience was evident in his confident movement and tactical awareness. Kelly was younger and less experienced but demonstrated quick learning and reliable performance under pressure. The team composition balanced experience levels while providing opportunities for mutual training and support. Maria took point position as the team prepared to enter the first building, her combat experience making her the natural choice for leadership despite being the newest member of the SEAL training program. Her teammates accepted her guidance without hesitation, recognizing competence that transcended service branch or gender considerations. The building's interior was dark, requiring night vision equipment and careful movement to avoid detection by simulated enemies. Maria advanced methodically, using hand signals to communicate with teammates while maintaining awareness of potential threats in all directions. Her deployment experience was invaluable in managing multiple priorities simultaneously. The first room contained 2 targets positioned to test reaction time and accuracy under pressure. Maria identified threats instantly, her weapon coming to ready position with muscle memory developed through countless hours of combat training. Her shots were accurate and immediate, neutralizing threats before they could endanger team members following behind. Jake moved into position to secure the room's far corner, his movements smooth and professional despite limited experience with close-quarters tactics. Morrison and Kelly flanked the remaining doorways, their coordination suggesting prior training together. The team's performance was becoming fluid through practice and mutual trust. The exercise continued through multiple rooms and floors, each presenting different challenges that tested various aspects of tactical competence. Some situations required stealth and patience, others demanded aggressive action and rapid movement. Maria found herself naturally coordinating team responses, her leadership abilities emerging through practical application rather than appointment. Contact left. Kelly called out as simulated gunfire erupted from a concealed position that had been missed during initial room clearing. Maria immediately assessed the situation and directed covering fire while Morrison flanked the position. The response was instinctive and effective, demonstrating how individual skills combined to create team capabilities. Jake's marksmanship proved exceptional during the exercise, his accuracy under pressure exceeding Marine standards that were already demanding. His confidence with weapons was evident in fluid movement between targets and immediate threat assessment that protected team members. Morrison noted his performance with professional respect. The building clearing exercise concluded successfully, with all targets neutralized and team members unharmed. Martinez reviewed their performance with detailed analysis that identified strengths and areas requiring improvement. His feedback was specific and actionable, focused on enhancing capabilities rather than criticizing mistakes. Santos demonstrated natural leadership and tactical awareness, Martinez observed. Thompson showed excellent marksmanship and adaptation to unfamiliar techniques. Morrison and Kelly provided steady support and professional communication. This team can work together effectively. The afternoon brought outdoor tactical exercises that tested movement and communication over greater distances with varied terrain and environmental conditions. The challenges required different skills than building clearing but demanded similar levels of coordination and precision. Maria welcomed the opportunity to apply tactical knowledge in environments similar to her deployment experiences. The scenario involved infiltrating an enemy position, gathering intelligence, and extracting without detection. Success required stealth, patience, and flawless execution of techniques that SEALs used regularly during actual operations. Failure would result in simulated capture and intensive remedial training that few candidates wanted to experience. Maria's team approached the target area using terrain features for concealment and movement techniques that minimized detection probability. Her point position required navigation and route selection that balanced speed with security. The responsibility was significant but familiar from combat leadership experiences. The target area was well defended with simulated sentries and detection equipment that required careful observation and planning to overcome. Maria spent considerable time studying the situation before committing to action, her patience reflecting lessons learned about the cost of hasty decisions in combat environments. Planning prevented problems that heroics could not solve. Jake provided overwatch during the infiltration, his marksmanship skills ensuring that unexpected threats could be eliminated quickly and quietly. His position required individual initiative and judgment while maintaining communication with team members. The responsibility was testing his development as a special operations candidate. Morrison and Kelly executed the intelligence-gathering mission with professional competence, their movements precise and coordinated despite challenging conditions. They retrieved required information without triggering alarms or alerting enemy forces. Their success was credited to thorough preparation and disciplined execution of proven techniques. The extraction phase tested all team members' abilities to move quickly while maintaining stealth and security. Maria coordinated movement routes and timing while managing communication with supporting elements. Her leadership was becoming more natural and effective through practical application under realistic conditions. The exercise concluded successfully, with mission objectives completed and team security maintained throughout. Martinez was impressed with their performance, noting improvements in teamwork and tactical application since morning training. The afternoon had demonstrated that individual competence was developing into collective capability. Evening brought written examinations covering tactical principles, equipment procedures, and operational planning concepts. The academic component was essential for understanding the theory behind special operations techniques and the reasoning that made tactics effective in various situations. Maria's engineering background helped her grasp complex concepts quickly and accurately. The examinations were comprehensive and demanding, requiring detailed knowledge of subjects covered during classroom instruction and practical training. Questions covered everything from weapons specifications to communication protocols to mission planning considerations. The scope was impressive and intimidating. Jake struggled more with the academic component than practical application, his learning style favoring hands-on experience over theoretical study. However, his determination was evident in extra preparation time and assistance seeking that demonstrated commitment to mastering all aspects of the training program. His improvement was steady and measurable. Night training exercises began after academic testing concluded, introducing darkness as an additional stressor that complicated all previously learned skills. Night vision equipment provided artificial vision but required different techniques and awareness patterns. The learning curve was steep for candidates accustomed to daylight operations. Maria adapted quickly to night operations, her combat experience including extensive darkness training that translated well to SEAL techniques. She found the equipment familiar and the tactics similar to Marine procedures, though precision requirements were higher and margin for error was smaller. Night work was where special operations competence became truly evident. The night exercise involved reconnaissance and surveillance techniques that required patience, observation skills, and detailed reporting accuracy. Teams were positioned to observe simulated enemy activities and report intelligence without detection. Success required hours of motionless observation under uncomfortable conditions. Jake's competitive nature worked against him during surveillance training, his natural inclination toward action conflicting with requirements for passive observation. Martinez provided additional instruction about patience and discipline that helped him understand different aspects of special operations work. Not all missions required aggressive action. Maria excelled during surveillance training, her patience and attention to detail serving well in gathering accurate intelligence over extended periods. Her reports were thorough and precise, demonstrating observation skills that impressed instructors accustomed to working with experienced candidates. Her combat experience was proving valuable in multiple areas. The night concluded with equipment maintenance and preparation for the following day's training, which would focus on advanced tactics and leadership under pressure. Candidates worked quietly in barracks areas, cleaning weapons and reviewing procedures that were becoming familiar through repetition and practice. As the third week progressed, training intensity continued escalating with exercises that tested physical endurance, mental toughness, and technical competence simultaneously. Sleep became increasingly precious as demands on time and energy multiplied. Some candidates began showing signs of stress that affected performance and decision-making capabilities. Maria maintained steady performance despite accumulated fatigue, her military experience providing foundation for managing stress and maintaining competence under pressure. She had learned during deployment that sustainable performance required careful resource management rather than maximum effort at all times. Endurance was more valuable than intensity. Jake was struggling more noticeably with fatigue and stress accumulation, though his determination remained strong. His competitive nature was driving him to match efforts of more experienced candidates, sometimes resulting in exhaustion that affected subsequent performance. He needed to learn energy management techniques. The week's most challenging exercise involved a 72-hour field training exercise that combined all previously learned skills in realistic scenarios. Teams would operate with limited sleep, food, and equipment while completing complex missions that tested every aspect of their developing competence. This was where true special operations potential would be revealed. Preparation for the extended exercise required detailed planning and equipment selection that would influence success or failure over 3 days of continuous operations. Maria approached the planning methodically, drawing on deployment experience to anticipate needs and prepare contingencies. Preparation was the foundation of successful operations. Jake worked closely with Maria during planning sessions, learning from her experience while contributing his own strengths to team preparation. His marksmanship skills and physical capabilities were valuable assets, while her tactical knowledge and leadership experience provided essential guidance. Their partnership was becoming effective through mutual respect and complementary abilities. The extended exercise began at midnight with insertion into a remote training area where teams would operate independently while being evaluated continuously by instructors who remained invisible but always present. Success required not only technical competence but leadership, endurance, and decision-making under pressure that revealed true character. Maria felt confident about the challenge ahead, knowing that her team possessed the skills and determination necessary for success. The exercise would test everything they had learned while revealing whether they could perform at levels that justified consideration for special operations assignments. The stakes were high, but so was their preparation level. As they moved into darkness toward their first objective, Maria realized that the training had fundamentally changed her understanding of what individual competence meant in special operations context. Success required not only personal excellence but ability to elevate team performance through leadership, communication, and example. The challenge was both individual and collective, requiring growth that went beyond simple skill development. The 72 hours ahead would determine whether months of preparation and weeks of intense training had built the foundation for special operations competence or revealed limitations that required additional development. Either outcome would provide valuable lessons, but success would open doors to opportunities that few military personnel ever experienced. The final week arrived with an atmosphere that felt different from previous training phases. Tension was palpable among remaining candidates, who understood that graduation was no longer automatic progression but required demonstration of competence that met actual SEAL standards. Of the original 24 candidates, only 12 remained, including Maria and Jake, whose performance had consistently impressed instructors throughout the demanding program. Master Chief Chen stood before the survivors with expression that reflected both pride and concern. These candidates had proven their dedication and basic competence, but the final evaluation would test qualities that could only be revealed under maximum stress. The exercise ahead would simulate actual combat conditions with realism that pushed participants beyond their previously tested limits. "Your final exercise begins in 6 hours, Chen announced. You will conduct a hostage rescue mission that requires everything you have learned integrated into seamless execution under time pressure. Live ammunition, explosive breaches, and unforgiving time constraints. Failure means mission failure, team casualties, and program elimination." Maria felt familiar pre-mission focus that had served her well during combat deployments. Her mind automatically began running through equipment checks, contingency planning, and leadership responsibilities that had become instinctive through experience and training. This was the moment that would validate weeks of preparation and years of military development. Jake appeared nervous but determined, his confidence built through successful completion of challenges that initially seemed beyond his capabilities. The transformation from uncertain Marine to competent special operations candidate had been remarkable, though this final test would determine whether the development was complete or required additional training. The mission briefing revealed complexity that exceeded previous training scenarios. Intelligence indicated that terrorist forces had captured 3 American aid workers and were holding them in a fortified compound scheduled for evacuation in 18 hours. Weather conditions were deteriorating, communications were limited, and extraction windows were narrowing rapidly. Instructor Colonel Sarah Mitchell, a veteran special operations officer, conducted the briefing with professional gravity that reflected her understanding of similar real-world situations. Her experience included multiple combat deployments and hostage rescue operations that had succeeded through precise planning and flawless execution under pressure. "Intelligence is incomplete and potentially unreliable," Mitchell warned. "Enemy strength is estimated between 8 and 12 fighters with automatic weapons and possible explosives. Hostage locations are approximate. Civilian casualties are unacceptable, friendly casualties are unacceptable, and mission failure is unacceptable." The compound was located in mountainous terrain that required helicopter insertion followed by overland movement to target area. Weather conditions would limit air support and complicate extraction procedures. The mission would test not only tactical competence but adaptation to changing conditions and resource limitations that characterized actual operations. Maria found herself appointed as team leader, a responsibility that reflected instructor confidence in her tactical knowledge and leadership capabilities developed through combat experience and enhanced through SEAL training. The appointment also carried weight of expectation that success or failure would influence broader questions about female integration in special operations. Her team included Jake as demolitions specialist, Morrison as communications expert, and Kelly as medical specialist. The assignments reflected individual strengths while requiring cross-training and mutual support that would be essential during the mission. Team composition balanced experience levels while ensuring necessary capabilities were available. Mission planning consumed 4 hours of intensive preparation that covered everything from insertion routes to casualty evacuation procedures. Maria coordinated planning while ensuring that every team member understood their responsibilities and could adapt to changing conditions. The process was thorough but time-constrained, forcing difficult decisions about acceptable risks and resource allocation. Jake's role as demolitions specialist was crucial for breaching fortified positions that protected hostages and enemy forces. His training during recent weeks had been intensive and practical, but this would be his first application under realistic conditions with live explosives. The responsibility was significant and potentially dangerous if mistakes were made. Equipment preparation revealed the sophistication and weight of gear required for complex operations. Night vision devices, communication equipment, weapons, ammunition, medical supplies, and specialized tools necessary for hostage rescue. The load was substantial, but every item was essential for mission success and team survival. The helicopter insertion occurred during darkness over terrain that was unfamiliar and potentially hostile. Maria coordinated with aircrew to ensure accurate delivery while maintaining security protocols that protected both team and aircraft. The flight was routine but nerve-wracking, representing transition from preparation to execution. Landing occurred without incident in a valley 3 kilometers from target compound. The team immediately established security and began movement toward objective using routes planned during mission preparation. Maria navigated while maintaining communication with distant headquarters and monitoring team member status and equipment function. Overland movement required 2 hours of careful navigation through mountainous terrain and darkness using techniques that balanced speed with security. The route avoided known observation points while providing concealment from detection. Maria's navigation was precise, bringing the team to planned observation positions exactly on schedule. Initial reconnaissance revealed compound layout that matched intelligence reports but showed additional security measures not previously identified. Enemy sentries were visible at predicted positions, but movement patterns suggested discipline and training that exceeded expectations. The mission was becoming more challenging than anticipated. Jake positioned himself to provide overwatch and execute demolitions plan when assault phase began. His location offered clear observation of target building while providing covered positions for accurate shooting if unexpected threats emerged. His preparation was thorough and professional, reflecting transformation into competent special operations candidate. Maria spent considerable time observing compound activities and refining assault plans based on actual conditions rather than theoretical intelligence. Her patience was essential for gathering information that would influence tactical decisions and timing that could determine mission success or failure. Preparation time was investment in successful execution. Communication with headquarters confirmed that hostage condition remained stable, but extraction timeline was accelerating due to weather deterioration that would limit helicopter availability. Mission success required completing objectives within narrow time window that was closing rapidly. Pressure was mounting for immediate action. The assault phase began with Jake's explosive breach of compound wall that created entry point while shocking and disorienting enemy forces. His demolitions work was precise and effective, creating necessary access without endangering hostages or compromising team security. The explosion marked transition from stealth to aggressive action. Maria led team movement through breach into compound interior where hostages were believed located. Her advance was methodical but rapid, using movement techniques that minimized exposure while maintaining forward progress. Enemy resistance was immediate and determined, requiring split-second decisions about target engagement priorities. Morrison's communication capabilities proved essential for coordinating support and reporting progress to headquarters monitoring mission development. His equipment functioned flawlessly despite environmental stress and enemy interference attempts. Professional communication maintained connection between team and supporting elements. Kelly's medical training became critical when Jake sustained shrapnel wounds during secondary explosive device detonation that enemy forces had positioned as defensive measure. Her treatment was immediate and effective, stabilizing Jake's condition while enabling continued mission participation. Medical competence was essential for team survival. The hostage rescue phase required precise room clearing and threat assessment that balanced aggressive action with hostage safety considerations. Maria's combat experience was invaluable in identifying actual threats while avoiding civilian casualties that would represent mission failure. Her decisions were rapid but deliberate. 2 hostages were located in predicted building areas, but the third was missing from expected location. Intelligence had been incomplete, forcing Maria to make tactical decisions about search procedures while maintaining mission timeline and team security. The situation required adaptation and quick thinking under pressure. Enemy resistance was more organized and effective than intelligence had suggested, requiring tactical modifications that tested team flexibility and individual competence under stress. Maria coordinated team movements while engaging targets that threatened mission success and team survival. Combat leadership skills were being tested thoroughly. Jake continued performing demolitions duties despite injuries, his determination and technical competence enabling removal of obstacles that blocked access to final hostage location. His courage and professionalism under fire demonstrated qualities that special operations demanded from all team members regardless of circumstances. The third hostage was located in concealed area that required additional breaching and careful approach to avoid accidental harm. Morrison's electronic surveillance equipment detected hidden chamber that would have been missed through conventional search methods. Technology and technique combined to enable mission success. Final hostage extraction required coordinated movement through compound areas that remained partially controlled by enemy forces seeking to prevent mission completion. Maria coordinated covering fire and movement sequences that protected civilians while neutralizing remaining threats. Her leadership was decisive and effective. Kelly's medical attention to rescued hostages revealed injuries that required immediate treatment and careful handling during extraction procedures. Her competence was essential for ensuring that rescue efforts did not result in additional harm to people who had already suffered through captivity and combat stress. Extraction phase began with movement to helicopter landing zone under time pressure created by deteriorating weather conditions and enemy reinforcement activities. The team moved efficiently while protecting hostages and maintaining security against pursuit attempts. Coordination was essential for successful completion. The helicopter extraction occurred successfully despite challenging conditions that tested aircrew abilities and team coordination under pressure. Maria ensured that all hostages and team members were accounted for before departure. Mission completion was confirmed only when aircraft cleared hostile territory and reached secure area. Post-mission debriefing revealed that team performance had exceeded instructor expectations in multiple areas while demonstrating areas requiring continued development and training. The exercise had tested individual competence, team coordination, and leadership capabilities under realistic conditions that approximated actual special operations missions. Chen's final evaluation was comprehensive and honest, acknowledging exceptional performance while noting that competence was measured against standards that demanded continuous improvement rather than simple completion. Both Maria and Jake had demonstrated qualities that justify consideration for advanced special operations training and assignment. Santos displayed natural leadership and tactical competence that enabled mission success under challenging conditions, Chen reported. Her combat experience and ability to adapt quickly to SEAL techniques suggest significant potential for special operations assignment. Recommendation: approved for advanced training. Thompson demonstrated remarkable development from conventional Marine to competent special operations candidate, Chen continued. His technical skills, determination, and adaptation to unfamiliar challenges exceeded expectations. His performance under fire was exemplary. Recommendation: approved for advanced training. The graduation ceremony was simple but meaningful, acknowledging completion of training that few military personnel ever attempted and fewer successfully completed. Maria and Jake had proven that Marines could adapt to SEAL techniques and standards when properly motivated and trained. Their success opened possibilities for expanded joint training and integration. Admiral Richardson attended the ceremony, his presence acknowledging the significance of the experiment that had begun with Pentagon debate about capabilities and standards. His remarks were brief but substantive, focusing on lessons learned rather than political implications. This program has demonstrated that competence transcends traditional boundaries when individuals possess necessary qualities and receive appropriate training, Richardson observed. Staff Sergeant Santos and Corporal Thompson have proven that cooperation between services enhances capabilities rather than diminishing standards. General Morrison also attended, his satisfaction evident in seeing Marines succeed in challenging environment while maintaining honor and professionalism that reflected positively on corps training and selection. The experiment had achieved objectives while providing valuable lessons for future joint operations and training programs. Maria felt profound satisfaction in completing training that had tested every aspect of her military development while opening opportunities that few people ever experienced. Her success was personal achievement but also validation of broader principles about merit-based evaluation and gender integration in special operations. Jake's transformation had been remarkable, progressing from nervous uncertainty to confident competence in sophisticated techniques that would serve him throughout his military career. His success was earned through determination and hard work that impressed instructors accustomed to working with exceptional candidates. The final evening brought reflection on lessons learned and relationships built during 4 weeks that had compressed years of normal development into intense experience that changed perspectives and capabilities. Both Marines understood that graduation was beginning rather than conclusion of special operations competence development. As they prepared to return to their units, both carried knowledge and experience that would influence their military careers and their understanding of what was possible when individuals committed to excellence and continuous improvement. The training had revealed capabilities they had not realized they possessed while demanding growth that exceeded previous limits. The Pacific Ocean continued its eternal rhythm against the shoreline, indifferent to human achievements but providing constant backdrop for military training that prepared warriors for global responsibilities. The sound was familiar now, representing challenge and opportunity rather than unfamiliar environment. Maria's dreams that night were filled with tactical scenarios and team coordination rather than anxiety and uncertainty. She had proven herself an environment that demanded nothing less than excellence while building confidence that would serve her throughout her military career. The challenge had revealed strength she had not known she possessed. Jake slept deeply for the first time in weeks, his body finally able to rest without anticipation of morning challenges that would test his limits. His confidence was earned through successful completion of tasks that initially seemed impossible. The training had built capabilities that would serve him throughout his military service. Both Marines had answered the question that sparked their participation in the program. They had not only survived SEAL training but excelled at it, demonstrating that competence was individual rather than categorical. Their success opened doors for future Marines while proving that excellence recognized no artificial boundaries when supported by proper training and genuine commitment to military standards that demanded nothing less than the best from everyone who served.